theater was founded by a man named Sid Grauman. Sidney Patrick Grauman. Now, he was born in Indiana in 1879. March 17th, 1879. He was the son of David and Rosa Grauman. Both of them were entertainers. They involved Sid in the entertainment business at an early age. When Sid Grauman reached adulthood, he went into the family business of the management of theaters. It was part of what his parents did. And Sid Grauman began his career in San Francisco. He opened 2 theaters there. He opened the Lyceum Theater and the Unique Theater. Both of those were destroyed in an earthquake in 1906. That caused Sid Grauman to relocate himself to Los Angeles. And his first theater in Los Angeles was called the $1 Million Theater. Now, that was built in what was called a Spanish colonial revival style, because it was the custom of the day to build these large theaters according to various regional styles. The $1 Million Theater still exists, but they no longer show movies. The building is still there. After that came the Egyptian Theater. And the Egyptian Theater is right down the street down there. That opened in October 1922, and that was the location of the world's very first red carpet movie premiere. They premiered a film called Robin Hood that night. Sid Grauman invented the concept of the red carpet movie premiere. He brought that over here. Next came the Metropolitan Theater. Now, that no longer exists. That was torn down in 1962. But the same year he opened the Metropolitan, he took a trip to China. He's very influenced by what he saw there, the art and the architecture of old China. That's why he decided to make his final theater a Chinese theater. And that's how this came to be. This theater cost $1.5 million to build, and it took a year and a half to build it. The investors in this theater were Sid Grauman, Charlie Chaplin, Douglas Fairbanks, and Mary Pickford. It opened on May 18, 1927 with the exhibition of a film called The King of Kings. Now, in 1927, the average ticket price for a movie was 10 cents. The ticket price that night for this theater, the opening night, was $11. So that was a considerable sum of money. It would be like having a ticket worth $500 today. If you look around the lobby here, you'll notice the idea Sid Grauman had for the lobby, because it was meant to look like a Chinese garden. The murals on the wall there, those are all hand-painted by a man named Key Luke. And Key Luke was a Chinese-American actor and artist, famous in his time for portraying a character called the #1 Son in the Charlie Chan Detective series. Later in life, he was in the Kung Fu TV show with David Carradine. In 1984, he was in a movie called Gremlins. And he died in 1991. But these are all original here. The reason the lights are kept very low in here, you'll notice it is dark in here, because they want to preserve the artwork on the wall. Up there, that ceiling up there, you see that it's meant to look like a sky. And the lights hanging down from the ceiling, these are actually incense burners. They would be pouring out sandalwood incense in 1927. The whole idea being is the patron's supposed to walk through the door here and right away feel like they were walking into a Chinese garden. Because to Sid Grauman, it was as important that the patron feel was carried away by the theater itself as by the movie. And in those days, the seats would have come all the way up to here. This concession stand was not here in 1927. This was added in 2001. They tore the wall down, took many of the seats out at that time. It was part of an earthquake protection program. And the lobby was greatly expanded. Originally in 1927, there was not even a concession stand in here. Concessions were sold outside. So the theater opened with 2,058 seats. It's currently down to 932 seats because of the expansion of the lobby and then the expansion of the screen size for IMAX in 2013. Step right over this way here.
This is fucking awesome. Wizard of Oz. Don't know what that's from, but that's beautiful. Oh my God, look at this dress. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And
this is an example of something that Sid Grauman put into the theater at the very beginning to lend an air of authenticity to the theater. The most notable things they got from China, though, were the two lions in the front. There's a male and a female Fu lion out there. These are actually from the Ming Dynasty of China. They're about several hundred years old. They're about 700 years old. The murals on the wall here, those are all hand-painted by a man named Xavier Cugat from Barcelona. He's a band leader and an artist. And these are all exactly as they appeared back in 1927. They've never been changed in 90 years. If you look right here, you'll see this is the hand footprint ceremony of Clint Eastwood. This is in 1984. And this is for a movie called Tightrope. This is when it was premiering here. Now, in these days, the stars, they can choose the color of the cement. So this one's tinted green, and it has this famous line, "You made my day," in the cement right there. Down there, you'll see George Lucas and Steven Spielberg. That's in 1984. That's for the premiere of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. And Steven Spielberg actually made two sets of footprints. One set was accidental.
Oh yeah.
And then out here, right over here, this is a little tribute to Carrie Fisher. This is a small tribute to Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds, her mother. Both of them passed away about a year ago. When that happened, fans contributed these various sentimental objects. They were collected and put on display here. Debbie Reynolds got her painted footprints outside the cement back in 1965. It was at the when they were showing a movie called The Unsinkable Molly Brown. Carrie Fisher never had a handed footprint, so fans made one up for her out there on their own. They made a star for her on their own. And then they left these various things out there and they were collected in here. Now this one over here, this is the dress of Betty Grable. And Betty Grable was a model and an actress of the old days. This is from a movie called That Lady in Ermine, 1948. Now Betty Grable is a model. She's very famous for her legs. Her legs were insured for over $1 million. 1943, she was invited to do her imprint in the cement outside. And instead of leaving an imprint of her shoe out there, she was lowered into the cement and made an imprint of her leg there. And you can still see the fake imprint of Betty Grable's leg there from 1943. And this movie here was not a success, but Betty Grable in her day was a great star. And she was a co-star of Marilyn Monroe. And right here, this is Marilyn Monroe from the film Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. And now you won't get really an idea of the size of Marilyn Monroe from this dress, the mannequin, because this is made of a special kind of a gold lame stretch fabric. It stretches out to the contour of the person wearing it. On Marilyn Monroe, if she were to put this on, this would be form-fitting. In 1953, they premiered this here. Marilyn Monroe and Jane Russell both did their imprint in the cement outside. And Marilyn Monroe wanted to do something special in the cement. She took her earring out of her ear, placed it into the cement to dot the I in the Marilyn. And it's still there after all these years. The glass earring of Marilyn Monroe is still there. The bottom cap is still there. This one over here. This is Rita Hayworth. Now her real name was Rita Cansino. And she was the wife of Orson Welles, the director of Citizen Kane. This is from the movie Gilda from 1946. This one premiered here as well. Rita Hayworth got her footprints in the cement out there in 1942 at the opening of Tales of Manhattan. It was a film she did with Henry Fonda. And Rita Hayworth wanted to have a small imprint in the cement, or a small shoe size in the cement. So she put herself into a pair of child-sized shoes. She got stuck in the child-sized shoes, and they got those off with scissors. Over here we'll have Grace Kelly. Now Grace Kelly was a very famous actress of the 1950s, very famous for her roles in Alfred Hitchcock films. This is the dress she wore to the opening of the film To Catch a Thief. There are about 7 pounds of beads on the dress. She's called the American Princess because she married the Prince of Monaco, Prince Rainier of Monaco. And this movie here is a movie she did with Cary Grant, a very famous film. And in 1982, after she had retired from acting to become the Princess of Monaco, she was killed in a car accident with their daughter in the car. This one here, this is a very famous one here. This one is The Wizard of Oz, 1939. Judy Garland. Judy Garland was 16 years old when she appeared in this film. And she got her hand footprints outside in the same year, 1939, not for The Wizard of Oz though. It's for a different film called Babes in Arms. She actually got cement that dried under her fingernails at that premiere. And they had to chip her fingernails off after that. Now when The Wizard of Oz premiered here, they had not a red carpet premiere for it, they had a yellow carpet premiere. Many of the small actors looked like the Munchkins. Were here in their outfits, mixing among the stars. One of those Munchkins was Jerry Marin, who was here for the premiere in 1939 in his costume. And he came back in 2013 when he was given his hand and footprints outside in recognition of the fact that he was the last surviving Munchkin who appeared, the last surviving person at all who appeared in the Wizard of Oz. I'm going to start this way here. James Dean, he was only in 3 films. He was in East of Eden, Rebel Without a Cause, and his final film was Giant in 1956. So when this premiered here, he was intended to have his hand and footprints done outside alongside his co-stars, Elizabeth Taylor and Rock Hudson. His death in a car accident before the premiere prevented that. So instead of James Dean going out there alongside them, the director of the film, George Stevens, took his place. This one here is Arnold Schwarzenegger. This is The Terminator 2. This is from 1991. The original film was 1984. Now again, you don't get any real idea of the size of Arnold Schwarzenegger just from this mannequin. The mannequin is quite a bit smaller than him. So it hangs limply. But on him it would fill out. Now you'll see there are holes in that outfit. Those are meant to look like bullet holes. In 1994, Arnold Schwarzenegger had his hand and footprints done at the opening of a film called True Lies. And he wrote his famous line, "I'll be back." This one here. Shanghai Express. This is from 1932. This is Marlene Dietrich. These are real raven feathers on the neck, and this is one of 7 films that she made with the director. It was an Austrian director named Josef von Sternberg. This one over here is Julie Andrews, famous for playing Mary Poppins, but this is from a film called Thoroughly Modern Millie, 1967. Now this one premiered here. Mary Poppins also premiered here. But Thoroughly Modern Millie is based on a Broadway musical, and it's all about Julie Andrews and her quest to acquire a rich husband. And 1966, Julie Andrews got her footprints in the cement outside, and that was right after the release of the famous film, The Sound of Music. Now we mentioned The Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz was released in 1939. It was not immediately successful though, because it was overshadowed by a different movie. It was overshadowed by Gone with the Wind. Right over here.
I knew you. It's one of your favorite movies.
This is Scarlett O'Hara and Gone with the Wind, Vivian Lee. And this is called The Drake's Dress. This is from a scene in the film where Scarlett O'Hara and Vivian Lee tears off the green drapes star Clark Gable did. 1937, he did that. It was for a film called Love on the Run. And it was him and the director, W.S. Van Dyke. They both did theirs together. They're both colored green, and they're right next to each other. Clark Gable's, you'll notice, is actually framed in bronze, though. That's because it was rededicated in 1976 by James Brolin, because James Brolin played him in a film called Gable and Lombard. And then right over here, this is a little tribute to George Lucas. Now, this is George Lucas. This is his acceptance speech for when he was awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award by the American Film Institute in 2004. And George Lucas did premiere his famous film Star Wars here in 1977. Star Wars was only supposed to play for about a month, May to June 1977. It was going to be replaced with a different movie called Sorcerer, which was expected to be a major success. Star Wars was not expected to be much of a success, but it turned out to be very much that, and Sorcerer was taken out after only a few weeks, and Star Wars put back in. So, all in all, Star Wars played here for about a year and a half, more or less. And the patrons were so numerous, when Star Wars was playing here, they wore out the carpet that had been here, that had been laid down here in 1927. This is not the original carpet. The original hand-woven carpet made in China was destroyed because there were so many people through here in 1977 and 78.
Oh my God.
Was that episode 6, right?
That was 4. Episode 4.
Oh.
Well, it wasn't called that at the time, which is Star Wars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was only on one of the re-releases they put episode 4.
Oh.
Now, Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Those actually premiered at the Egyptian Theater. Grauman's Egyptian Theater, because at that time, in the early 1980s, this theater had a dispute with 20th Century Fox. So then
Not surprising.
Not surprising.
Not surprising.
They have a problem with them now.
Yeah.
With Marvel trying to get rights from 20th Century Fox. Go to Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
So those two premiered over there. Now, Force Awakens, that premiered over here, 2015. That was the biggest premiere that Hollywood has seen in many years. Now that premiere took place at this theater, the Dolby next door, and the El Capitan over there across the street. All three theaters did the premiere simultaneously. That was the biggest, most gala premiere that we've seen in a long time. And right down here, we have here the red chair Sid Grauman brought back with him from China. That was the 1923 trip that inspired him to create a Chinese theater. Also, one of the, in red is the lucky color. That's why you see all this red, so many things are red in here. Because that's the traditional lucky color in China. You see how the red and gold color scheme reflect all over the design of the theater here. Also, one of the original mannequins that Sid Grauman put into the theater back in 1927. There were 3 of them originally, but there's only 1 left today. This one right here, though, was regarded as being Charlie Chaplin's good luck charm. Charlie Chaplin was an investor in this theater, part of the $1.5 million it took to build the theater. He came here in 1928 to premiere a film he made called The Circus. He touched the statue's shoulder for good luck right there. That's an old superstition. You touch the shoulder of someone, you take the luck out of them. So he did that. And ever since that time, in 1928, it's become a tradition that people who come here for the premieres, they'll touch the statue's shoulder for good luck, to honor Charlie Chaplin and to bring good luck to the movie they're premiering here.
Where's the other 2 statues?
Those just deteriorated over the years.
Oh, okay.
And then just come right down here.
Amazing. Would the general, like, people be able to afford to come to a premiere?
Well, the premieres,
But like when the stars are here.
the studio invites those people.
Oh, okay.
So that's the studio's call. His who comes in at that time.
Gotcha. Okay.
Oh, my name's doing it. Yeah.
So this is the main auditorium. Now this IMAX screen here was installed in 2013. Before the IMAX was here, these seats were all sloped on one level. But they had to put the stairs in here for IMAX. You have to have that with IMAX. In the old days, there was a stage up here, also an organ, and an orchestra pit as well, because movies were still silent in 1927, and they would have had live musical accompaniment. Now, the stage, the organ, and the orchestra pit were all removed back in 1957. But the pipes for the organ, they're still in the walls and the ceiling here. The music would come down from the ceiling in those days.
Oh, man.
This is the only IMAX screen in the world that still has a curtain that opens and closes. And the curtain is also designed by Xavier Cugat. It's an enlarged replica of the original curtain from 1927. The reason the theater is called TCL now is because in the year 2013, the TCL Corporation of China purchased the naming rights to the theater. So that's why it's called TCL now. If you've heard the name TCL or Mann's Chinese Theater or Grauman's Chinese Theater, any of those names apply to this theater at different times.
When he passed, his family members weren't able to take over rights to this,
He
or?
didn't have any heirs.
Oh, man.
And anyway, he sold his share in the theater actually in 1930. He sold it to a Fox West Coast Theaters, which was a subsidiary of 20th Century Fox.
Mistake.
Well, he still remained on as managing director until his death. Now, everybody, just take a seat. Take a seat right down here in this section here, because they're going to run a clip on here for about 9 minutes. And this is going to tell you a little more. It's going to tell you how the mechanics equipment got started. It's going to show you Sid Grauman.
Comfortable. Oh my God.
For about 9 minutes.
These seats are amazing.
Pay to get these type of seats?
The studio invites them, so we would never be able to get in here with stars.
Oh, damn.
Never. That sucks.
It's just recline back, bro. You know how comfortable this shit is? This shit is?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Hollywood, land of magic, glamour, and make-believe. Home to the studio dream factories. Since the motion picture industry first became the preeminent source of American entertainment in the early 1920s, the Hollywood community has held a mythical spot in the imagination of movie lovers everywhere. Perhaps no place within that community epitomizes Hollywood and all it represents more than the Chinese theater. With its ornamental facade and courtyard of famous hand and footprints, the TCL Chinese Theater is the most visited site in all of Hollywood, attracting an average of 5 million visitors each year. Hi, I'm Ben Mankiewicz, host of Turner Classic Movies, and I'm going to be your guide for this look at one of the most famous movie palaces in the world. In addition to movies, the theater has also played host to theatrical premieres and assorted red carpet events over the years, including 3 Academy Award ceremonies and most recently the AFI Fest, as well as the annual TCM Classic Film Festival. You're probably wondering how this magnificent movie palace came into being. The Chinese theater was the brainchild of showman Sid Grauman, a show business veteran who began his career in theatrical exhibition in San Francisco, managing several theaters for motion pictures and vaudeville acts. After losing 2 theaters in the 1906 San Francisco earthquake, Grauman relocated to Los Angeles, where he built 2 movie palaces: the $1 Million Theater in downtown LA and the Egyptian Theater on Hollywood Boulevard, currently home to the American Cinematheque. For his 3rd and final venture, Grauman partnered with United Artists founders Mary Pickford, Douglas Fairbanks, and Charlie Chaplin as co-investors in this lavish movie palace. Construction on the Chinese Theater began in January 1926 and took nearly a year and a half to complete. The theater had its official opening on the evening of May 18, 1927, with the world premiere of Cecil B. DeMille's epic The King of Kings. patrons were treated to a live stage show called Glories of the Scriptures, designed by Grauman himself. Plus, there were appearances by nearly every major star in Hollywood, not to mention the film itself, which was accompanied by a Wurlitzer organ and a 65-piece orchestra. Grauman spared no expense in making the Chinese the grandest showplace in Hollywood. At a cost of nearly $1.5 million, roughly equivalent to $30 million today, the theater boasted a one-level seating capacity of 2,058 and a Wurlitzer pipe organ with sound emanating from the auditorium ceiling. Patrons were also treated to extravagant architectural details imported from China. Those two lions in front of the theater are from the Ming Dynasty. The lobby is adorned with original works of sculpture by local Chinese artists. And those colorful murals in the lobby were created by artist and actor Qi Lu, best known for his role as #1 son in the Charlie Chan films of the 1930s. Probably the most famous aspect of the Chinese is its forecourt, filled with the hand and footprints of stars from the silent era to the present. You might be wondering how this first started. Well, legend has it that Sid Grauman was escorting stars Douglas Fairbanks, Mary Pickford, and Norma Talmadge from the Roosevelt Hotel across the street to check out progress on the theater's construction when Miss Talmadge accidentally stepped into a slab of wet cement. Well, Grauman, never one to miss an opportunity for publicity, seized the moment, getting Talmadge, Fairbanks, and Pickford to make their imprints and sign their names in the wet concrete. And so a tradition was born. Through the years, some 200 stars have made their imprints in the courtyard, along with a few interesting variations, such as John Wayne's fists and Harold Lloyd's glasses. And more recently, Jackie Chan's bare feet and Mel Brooks's 6-finger handprint. Handprints of movie legends go from Humphrey Bogart, Marilyn Monroe, and Bette Davis, Clint Eastwood, George Clooney, Brad Pitt, and Jennifer Aniston. How well do your hands and feet size up with those of your favorite star?
Oh, hello, Mr. Grauman.
You were marvelous tonight. Never more glamorous.
Thank you.
One of the greatest performances I've ever seen at the Chinese theater.
Thank you, Sid.
You know, I've reserved a slab of concrete. May I have your footprints?
Certainly she'll do that.
Thank you, Mr.
That's
Grauman.
wonderful. And remember, when you take your feet out of that wet concrete, keep them on solid ground, where they have always been.
She'll do that too, Sid, and I'll send you a bill for the shoot.
Classic film fans might like to know that the cement imprints aren't the only items of interest in the forecourt. Beneath actress Greer Garson's cement block lies a time capsule containing a 35mm print of her Oscar-winning film Mrs. Miniver, as well as a copy of the original screenplay for the picture. It still lies there today, undisturbed, since 1942. Movies weren't the only form of entertainment offered at the Chinese. Sid Grauman was famous for his lavish prologues. Those were live staged productions performed before a film. The prologues were always designed with a theme relating to the picture. Many Hollywood hopefuls got their starts as performers in the prologues, including a young Myrna Loy, who would later find fame as William Powell's wisecracking wife in the popular Thin Man movies. Over the years, the Chinese has played host to numerous gala premieres of some of Hollywood's biggest films. Howard Hughes hosted the opening of his World War I epic Hell's Angels here in 1930. King Kong first climbed the Empire State Building at the Chinese in 1933. Judy Garland made her first journey down the Yellow Brick Road when The Wizard of Oz had its Hollywood premiere in 1939. And Star Wars ran for more than a year here, starting in 1977. Damn. Recent films that have made their premiere at the Chinese include Gravity, Christopher Nolan's Interstellar, and Godzilla. The Chinese theater itself has made numerous appearances in films, including the original 1937 A Star is Born, Singin' in the Rain, The Legend of Lila Claire, starring recent handprint participant Kim Novak, plus Forrest Gump with Tom Hanks, Iron Man 3 with Robert Downey Jr., and perhaps the most infamous, Mel Brooks's Blazing Saddles.
How did he do such fantastic stunts with such little feet?
As technical advances in filmmaking were introduced, the Chinese has always been ready to meet the challenge. The first sound film to play here was White Shadows in the South Seas in 1928. In the 1950s, the Chinese offered its patrons the full spectrum of 6-track magnetic stereophonic sound. In the 1980s, Dolby Digital and THX systems were installed. This was the first theater in the world to be THX certified. As screen formats widened over the years, so has the screen at the Chinese. From grandeur in the early 1930s, to CinemaScope in the 50s, to Panavision in the 60s, right up to the theater's recent excavation over 30 feet into the earth to create the largest IMAX theater in the world. There has never been a better place to see a movie than right here. Motion pictures have certainly changed dramatically since the Chinese opened its doors in 1927, and today the theater is more than ready to meet any new challenge. The new Chinese is ready to embrace modern movies with a gigantic new IMAX screen, state-of-the-art digital projection and sound, beautifully restored interiors and lighting. All of that ensures the TCL Chinese Theater's position as the premier Hollywood movie palace and guarantees it will continue to thrill visitors for years to come. For TCL Chinese and Turner Classic Movies, I'm Ben Mankiewicz, and I hope you've enjoyed the tour.
Look at this. This is the freaking bathroom. These are beds.